feels good. It feels good to finally beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And I know Chiefs fans out there are crying, whining, this, that, and the other. You've had your time. You've had your chance in the spotlight. It's over. At least for this season, it's over. As the Texans take down the Chiefs 20-10 and get their first win against Kansas City since 2019. And oh, how sweet it is to see this final scoreboard. Week 14, Sunday Night Football, the Texans. I'm not going to lie. Second half, seemed like they were wanting to give it up to the Kansas City Chiefs, and it seemed like the same old song and dance. The Texans went up early. They were up 10-0 at halftime. The Chiefs came roaring back in the third quarter, but some massive stops in the fourth quarter in the second half by this Texans defense helped this squad pull out the W. And if you love the fact that we just beat the Kansas City Chiefs, H-Town stand up. Go down and hit that subscribe button. If you're subbed, spam the H's down below because, I mean, I fully expected there to be some dark voodoo magic. I fully expected there to be a black cat that ran on the field, that, Mahomes would somehow unlock a 14-point play that we've never seen before. It always seemed like it didn't go the Texans' way, and the Chiefs always found a way to win. But not tonight. Not tonight in front of Chris Collinsworth, Patrick Mahomes' boyfriend, and everybody else. The Texans got this dub. So let's break it down. And don't mean to go to the negative side. I know we all want to celebrate the win, but we got to talk about this. My top takeaway up against Kansas City is Caley got out-coached. Bad. Like, really bad. And the measure of a coach is truly the third quarter. Because the first half, you have your scripts, you have your game plans, this, that, and the other. The other team might not be fully ready for what you're throwing at them. You have the element of surprise. But halftime is where you make adjustments and you change your game plan to take down your opponent. And in the third quarter, the Houston Texans had -2 yards on offense. 4 punts, -2 yards on offense in the third quarter. It was horrendous. Maybe the worst quarter of Texans offensive football I've seen all season. And that's saying something. This offense hasn't been great. But, Nick Caley, man, I know first-year play caller, first-time OC, and he's had a very up-and-down season. That third quarter just put a spotlight on how much better Steve Spagnuolo, the Chiefs defensive coaching staff, they destroyed this Texans offense. And it's not all on Nick Caley, but let me know down in the chat, scale it 1 to 10, your confidence level in Nick Caley moving forward. 1, you have no confidence at all. 10, you think he's the best OC in the entire NFL. I don't see how you can have it as a 10. I'm at a 5. I'm smack dab in the middle with Nick Caley. Like I said, it's been an absolute roller coaster. Sometimes he looks incompetent, like he has no idea what he's doing. Sometimes it looks like, this guy's finally getting in on the right track. It looks like the offense is finally moving in the right direction. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, though, your confidence level in Nick Caley. And I said it wasn't all on Caley, right? It can't be all on the play caller. The offensive line and Stroud had a rough outing. Talk about roller coaster. C.J. Stroud was a roller coaster tonight for Texans fans. He had some plays where you're like, that's the Stroud we know and love. That's the Stroud that really shows up when we need him the most. And then you have other times where it's like, what is this guy doing? Like, what in the world is CJ doing? 15 of 31, 203 yards. Our scoreboard at the beginning was wrong. That's on me. He had 1 touchdown, the early passing touchdown to Woody Marks, 80.4 quarterback rating. It was a rough outing for CJ in the offensive line. The O-line, man, their inability to run block sometimes and pick up blitzes is so infuriating. And really, it was Chris Jones at the start of the third quarter that absolutely gave the Texans offensive line the most fits. I mean, he single-handedly ruined the Texans' first drive. I think every single snap was in the backfield within 2 seconds. He was right there. This offensive line had no answers, no ability to run block, no ability to pass block. Jake Andrews was getting whooped. Ed Ingram was getting whooped. We were trying to block George Karlaftis with Dalton Schultz. It was just a rough outing all around for this Texans offensive line. Luckily, they were able to pull it out at the end, and C.J. Stroud made the plays when we needed him to, but man, there were some times where it's like Stroud was just airmailing it. Like legit throwing it 5-6 yards above Nico Collins' other guys' heads. There was times, multiple times where there's open guys and Stroud just playing out missed them. Now, there was points where the offensive line didn't block worth a damn, and he was pressured within 2 seconds and had to make something out of nothing. But when the protection holds up, when you get the easy throws, you got to take advantage of it. And Stroud, just wasn't able to do that at many points in tonight's game. He just wasn't. And I'm one of the biggest Stroud truthers out of everybody. My whole comment section is like, put Davis Mills in. Jeremy, you need to stop with C.J. Stroud, this, that, and the other. And it's been like that since Stroud got injured up against the Broncos. But, I mean, just calling it like I see it, C.J., very below average game tonight. I would say this was a C game for C.J. Stroud, and he'd probably say the same thing. I would say he has a high standard for himself. He'd probably say the same thing, that he did not play the best game that he could tonight. All right, let's go to my next takeaway. Woody Marks, the closer for this Texans offense, this Texans team. Back-to-back weeks, man. Back-to-back weeks. They leaned on the rookie, Woody Marks, to end the game for him, and that's what he did. Back-to-back weeks. And, shout out to him, man. He absolutely, I know the stats don't look pretty for him. He did have a passing or a receiving touchdown. He had 26 carries, 68 yards. That's 2.6 yards per carry. Like I said, not very, promising numbers. Nick Chubb did get injured early in this game with a rib injury, was ruled out. So it was Woody Marks got the, lion's share of the carries. And like I said, the numbers don't look good, but at the end of the game when they needed him the most, he was able to get, some crucial first downs, some crucial yardage for this Texans team, and he did have the lone receiving touchdown for this Texans squad. So shout out to Woody Marks. I have some more takeaways here in just a moment, but couldn't do today's show if it wasn't for our amazing sponsor over at Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app out there. Join the millions of users and sign up today. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's the holiday season, the best time of the year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes, and it's all happening at once. Well, you and I are out here making decisions every day on what gifts to buy, what to eat, which games to watch. There's one place where it feels good to be right, and that is over at Prize Picks. Is your fantasy season already over? My team is good. But on Prize Picks, I don't have to wait until next year's draft. Prize Picks lets you play fantasy football every single week. Pick your favorite players and win when they hit their projections every week. No draft required. It's super simple. All you got to do is pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Go ahead and download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All that information down in the comments and description of today's show. Plain and simple, defense won this game. And I will say, shout out to Andy Reid, though, the Chiefs head coach, because I think most NFL head coaches, most offensive play callers, most offensive head coaches, without 3 of their starting offensive linemen, would put up 0. It would be a big fat goose egg up against this Texans defense. And they were able to move the ball a little bit against the Texans at different points in the game. Now, Patrick Mahomes, obviously, not a good game. 14 of 33, 160 yards, 3 picks, a quarterback rating of 19.8. And, I mean, it's not really on Mahomes. You can't really blame him because he did everything he could, and this Texans defense just showed out. I mean, they put so much emphasis on protecting Mahomes. They had 6, 7, 8 guys protecting him in the backfield. So that leaves only a couple guys out on routes. And that leaves very little margin for error. And I think Chris Collinsworth said it in the postgame. F. Chris Collinsworth in the chat. They had 6 drops today. And on key downs, Rashee Rice, that 4th down stop that the Texans had. He dropped that pass. Travis Kelce on Azeez Al-Shire's interception. He dropped that pass. So, I mean, honestly, Mahomes' team let him down this game. His receiving core, the offensive line, I actually thought, played pretty well, all things considered, against this Texans defensive pass rush. I think they neutralized Danielle Hunter, and Will Anderson Jr. made a couple plays here and there, but overall, it wasn't like we saw, a couple weeks ago against the Bills. But on the back end, Jalen Petrie with a couple massive plays, that huge hit against Rashee Rice, and the interception. Kamari Lassiter with some big plays. The Texans defense really stood up. Is this the best Texans defense in franchise history, though? Let me know. Give me a yes, give me a no down in the comment section. Do you think this is the best Texans defense in franchise history? I think so. I think it is, guys. And lastly, you can't take the foot off the gas. And I feel like the Texans did this a little bit in the third quarter. And moving forward, you can't do that because, isn't this beautiful? Isn't this beautiful? The Texans from 0-3 are now holding the last spot in the wild card. Pinch me because I think I might be dreaming. The Texans have their logo up there in the playoff picture. And 4 more weeks to go. They hold the final wild card spot. If the playoffs started now, they would play the Patriots in the divisional round. That would be quite the matchup. Here are your next 4 weeks for the Houston Texans. And you can jump some, right? You can jump up a little bit by playing, the Chargers. You play at home against the Cardinals, at home against the Raiders. You visit the Chargers in Week 16, and then you're at home in Week 18 up against the Colts. I see no reason why the Texans can't go 4-0 in this stretch right here and possibly win the division, even though the Jags have an extremely easy schedule. No reason why you can't hold the playoff spot, or even, if the Jags slip up, win the division. You got to keep that foot on the gas, keep it on the pedal. But massive win in Week 14. Now we're on to Week 15 up against the Arizona Cardinals. That's all I have for you on today's show, folks. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, you can do so at Jeremy Chugs. My DMs are always open. And if you made it to the end of today's video, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Free Texans videos all year long here on the channel. And we're riding. We're rolling. Feeling good. Texans beat the Chiefs for the first time since 2019. If you made it to the end of the video, give me those W's down in the comment section because the Texans got a big fat win here on Sunday Night Football.